Welcome to Ithaca Politics. The first ward of Ithaca is a sprawling territory which reaches down the Route 13 corridor towards Buttermilk Park, deep into the West Hill, while also covering both the south side and north side of Ithaca. Our guests tonight are the two candidates who are vying to represent the first ward, Alejandro Santana and Jorge DeFendini, and we will be talking with them shortly. But I'm very pleased to announce that the representative of the first ward for the last 4 years is with us tonight, Phoebe Brown. So welcome, Phoebe.
I'm glad to be here, as always.
Well, let me be the first to say thank you for your service. And my first question would be, now what has been the most fulfilling part of the job? Is it representing people from the first ward, or is it being part of the great machine that keeps the city government functioning?
What has been the most important for me is being on the council, representing communities who have not been represented from my observation for some time, since Diane Sams, Michelle Courtney Berry, and I believe it was one other woman. So having a voice that kind of represents a community whose voice is a lot of times silenced, that has been really great for me. And the learning process, what I've learned about myself and others doing this work, right? Because in the beginning it's excitement and I just can't wait, I'm gonna make changes, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and understanding that it's a lot more to that than just that. So in a nutshell, what I've been able to be grateful and thankful for was to inspire, be a voice of some who've experienced some things that I've experienced in life, you know, being in recovery, being an African-American woman, being someone who's works for an organization that work with people who are incarcerated, people coming home, people who have loved ones. So it was an opportunity to represent some communities that are not normally represented.
I have noticed when there are presentations to council, one of your first questions is, well, how is this going to affect our community of color? And is there going to be somebody once you're gone that you think will be able to stand in your shoes and make sure that people are reflecting on that?
I'm hopeful that representatives who come in, I'm hopeful of the ones that I see who are vying for this position. I'm Phoebe. I'm an individual. To have the same voice and the empathy that I have, I'm not sure if that will happen, but I will be in their ears to remind them.
Okay. When we last talked on the phone, you said, boy, you got lots of emails. What are people talking to you about, or what are they emailing you about?
So everything from potholes, to wishing that I wasn't leaving, some who wish I'd hurry up and leave, and just, you know, a lot of concerns around different issues that is happening in our community. Yeah.
Well, what do you recommend then for an incoming council person that's going to get deluged with emails? How do they respond?
To please be responsive, but also to be in the community with those people who voted them in, which has been a downer for me because last year I've gotten sick. I was sick for a while, so I couldn't continue to be in community in the way that I want. And so that's a part of me who are like kind of bittersweet, because my intentions when I came in was to really be involved and hands-on with the community that voted me in. And yeah, that's a little downer for me because I wanted to do not just change policies, and I wanted to really connect with community and they connect with me, right? So I keep an open door, and then people are always invited to just knock on my door. However, that's asking people to come to me, and I didn't do as well of a job as I would have liked to do is by going to my people. And I'm being pretty honest about that. And that is something that helped to make my decision of this, I need to move on, right? Because I'm not fulfilling my heart's desire. So there's a few reasons why. You know, I'm 70. I want to spend more time with my grands. I want to have more time for myself. Because as a council person, you have to be in council meetings, and we do it the first 3 Wednesdays now. So that could interrupt, but it's not a bad thing. For those who can do it, fine. Yeah, and for people, when you come on board, read as much as you can. Everything that's sent to you, be knowledgeable, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the structure of the city government. Back, I don't know, was it 2 years, 3 years now? You voted against the city manager position.
Yes.
Looking back, do you think you were more correct or less correct in supporting a city manager and I guess a deputy city manager as well?
Personally, and I try to be nothing but genuine and honest, I'm not excited with a city manager. I have found it to be less, if it doesn't feel as if the council and the city manager, well, some council members and the city manager are, I can't say on the same page. We want the same things, but the structure is definitely different. We feel a little, how can I put it? I can't speak for others, but I don't feel as if the connection is or the bond is as strong as it should be. Like I've always said, maybe I'm older and I'm used to a mayor being more in charge. I can't say in charge, but more, you know, we have to now pretty much ask for permission to interact with the different administrators and different things, and that sometimes feel sort of like uncomfortable. I don't know about others on there, but for me it's been uncomfortable. It feels as if, I think it feels as if this divide between the city and the council has been created, and it should not be. You know, for me, it's learning the balance. City employees, council, city manager, but also importantly, our constituents who vote us in, right? Mm-hmm. Feeding and helping their voice be heard. That's why they voted us in.
Do you feel the mayor's position has compensated at all for city managers? Are you closer to the mayor, since the mayor doesn't have to have all the administrative responsibilities? He's supposedly leading more on the policy end of things.
No, I'm not. I don't feel closer to the mayor like I felt when Laura Lewis was a mayor. I feel separated. That's me. Maybe other people on the council feel this strong connection with the mayor, but I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling issues that are near and dear to me are being prioritized. Okay, so and an example is reimagining public safety. For one, we're still waiting for the unarmed responders. That was supposed to be the purpose that we hired assistant city manager, right? The research for reparations that we acquired $50,000 for the research. Here's March. We have not created a working group as of yet, right?
Is it the mayor that is setting those priorities for council to follow?
I'm not sure who's setting those priorities. I know it's not a priority. If it was, a working group would be in place. And when I ask about it, it's, oh, come meet with me. So I'm not saying anything other than what I feel. And sometimes pretty much my feelings is facts. But yeah. However, that's my concern. Is some of the things that I wanted to see happen, will that, because if we don't get the RFP for the reparations research, and I'm gone, who's going to push it? And I don't want to, but I know someone who have worked very hard with me to put it there, to get it passed. So, you know, and I'm hoping that Kayla continues to support some of the efforts. I'm hoping that people remember Reimagining Public Safety was an executive order 203 that still is in limbo. Yeah. So
Well, I was going to bring this up a little later in the conversation, but since you're bringing it up now, I mean, looking at it in context, following the death of George Floyd, there was such a fire about the injustice and, you know, all the people that have followed George Floyd in their killings by police. And how do you think that the city can just sort of take that fiery, community-based, you know, resolve to really see something happen and just let it sort of filter away with an occasional mentioning, but it just doesn't have that sense of it anymore. And we were talking earlier about the Black Lives Matter being torn up in Washington, and it feels so emblematic of just how this whole, it wasn't an era, but you know, that whole period of time just seems to be whitewashed away.
That's not new. This is America with KKK. That's not new. And we can see what our administration is doing right now is once again putting us in our place, right? So it breaks my heart, right? Very much to see what's happening. However, it also is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to come together, have our own, take care of our own, be one. You can't help nobody else until you help yourself. So that is an opportunity also. And it's pretty sad, but it makes me think about what wakes me up in the middle of the night of how hard we fought, Black people, for the civil rights movement. How even till this day, it doesn't benefit it much. It's benefited many others, right? And what does that say to me? I don't know about others. We're still like the not Cinderella's stepchildren, who we're gonna get fed last or not at all right? So it breaks my heart because we built this country. We built this country. This country would not be in the place that it is due to our free labor and our continuous mistreatment. But I mean, you know, that's a lot of what I've just said. But like I said, at this time for me, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful and scared.
Are you hopeful for the city to finally follow through?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I'm hopeful for the city to finally, because we can't do nothing but take care of one another, right? So I'm hopeful in that manner. Yeah.
Could I ask you a couple questions about First Ward hotspots, as I call it?
Yeah.
I'd like to get your perspective. First off, squeaky clean. Now, the city has all but admitted it made a mistake
Yeah.
in allowing squeaky clean to come in. And squeaky clean is anything but with the neighborhood, the residents there, having the, in their words, dealing with the sound. But it's been going on now for quite a while, and plenty of residents have come to council to voice their concerns. Can we get a sense of why, as far as I know, there has been no progress? And that's a kind of like emblematic of maybe residents really don't have that much of a voice in these matters.
And I wasn't on when the zoning and the approval happened. However, and this is the part of also what I've learned from this is many times being on the council doesn't allow you to make the changes that you want to make, right? And it can be very frustrating. And that is another reason why I feel I do better at grassroots, on the ground, in the community, right? So from what I'm understanding about squeaky clean, it's sort of like a done deal, right? Unless, and what is it? And then we ask community. Community has lots of input, and what can they do to make a change? Zoning would have had to been changed, for one, and they did do community input. How did that slip through, right?
So are we saying that there is really no influence that anybody in city government can have to resolve this issue?
Not that from what I've been observing, it feel like that. If we could have, I'm sure we would have, because that squeaky clean also affects many of us as well. So yeah. So I feel stuck in that area.
Art House. Now, there have been residents of Art House actually took Vincino to court, and there was a settlement, and they actually won because of the conditions that they're living in Art House. And that's really only the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
We know with Vincino's property of Steri, so many complaints about the living conditions there. And Vincino, these buildings are private, public entities, so I'm really kind of baffled why the city isn't taking more of a harder stand to make sure that these folks are in livable, habitable conditions. And
they have, when it comes to, so the city have done whatever they can do, right? I think in planning and the tax base and the this, that, and the other, we had an opportunity before Steri came in, like all of that had happened once again before me. That is a place I would not have put the conference center and a housing center together and put in people who are vulnerable, who needs help. That doesn't work, right? And so what I've seen at both Art House and Steri is that everybody, it was a lose-lose, because the people who are in there also need all the services that they said was going to be provided from them, but you cannot put everybody right together. Like for me, it would have been, let's find different type of housing for people who are struggling with addiction, for people who are struggling with domestic violence, for people who are struggling with mental health, right? And
get them the support that they need.
And get them each the support that they need. I do agree people deserve housing. Housing has allowed me to now celebrate 29 years of being clean and serene, right? That was just one part of it, right? Having a decent house also was encouraging and something that I wanted to hang on to, so I didn't want to lose it. However, I had support. I did a 12-step program, but I also had other community supports. At the time, Red Cross was involved. So what I'm saying is, that they created a way. I've spoken and stopped and spoke to people who have gotten apartments in Asteri, right? And who did not want to even go, who was still staying out on the streets because they didn't want to live there or go and live there. And I said, why not? Because I didn't want to, and the young man said I didn't want to wind up right with the same people that I tried to get away from. Also, Art House. Early on, I visited it, went through there, and Art House has the same people owning it. So we saw the mistake in Art House, but we did the same thing with Asteri. And I'm not saying that Vicino did not try to reach out to community. I've went in and met with them and sat down and talked with them and gave some suggestions. That's not my ward, but I still went out. Okay, I'm talking a lot, so let me let you answer your questions.
No, that's okay. Well, we have a few minutes left. Another hot spot. Let me get to my own pet peeve, Floral Avenue.
Okay.
Now, the first council meeting of a brand new council in 2024,
Yeah.
we had quite a few people come up and speak about it, and they, I don't know if they presented the petition, but they had a petition of over 1,000 names, maybe a combination of petitions, for more safe bicycling, more safe pedestrian access to Floral Avenue. And what was surprising to me was the council members, just about everybody agreed, oh yeah, we need that. We need safe transportation. We need safe access for people that don't have cars. But a year later, more than a year later, nothing's happened. I remember Margaret Fabrizio bringing it up to the city manager, and all she could say is, well, it's on our list. You know, she said, well, what about Floral Avenue? Oh, it's on our list. And that seems to be it. It really makes me question whether it's worth it for people to try to, you know, speak up for their own interest in what sometimes is now life and death, because people have died on Floral Avenue, and people are continuing to be hit on Floral Avenue. But what changes?
And there lies the dilemma for me, right? Because I was with Margaret, also Kayla, who went and we stood out there and we watched the traffic and we watched what was going on, and we asked for some help with that, right? And so what a lot of times people don't understand is the way that council works, right? You have to have the votes, right?
Among other council members.
Among other council members, right? And so Margaret Fabrizio has been, in my sight, amazing to have on the council. All of them, everybody on this new council is very smart and very, however, that is not enough, right? If you're not voting the same. I do encourage community to continue come and voice your concern, continue to write, continue to ask questions and push. You voted for a new style of government when you voted for a city manager, right? And that is learn more about what it means to having a city manager who does the work that we thought was too much for a mayor, right?
Does it mean that perhaps people should lobby the city manager more than council, that they should be directing more of their
Concerns.
interests and needs to a city manager and a deputy city manager directly?
I believe so. I hope I'm not overworking them, but I believe so. I believe so. I just want community to know that the council want what you want, right? But we have so much, I'll say, power to make it happen.
You have only so much?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got a few minutes left. Give us an update on what's happening as far as reparations.
I think I said a little bit. We're still waiting for a working group to come together, and then we could put out a RFP to get someone willing to do the research, right? So that we're still waiting for. I'm excited about even getting to that far, right? We do, Lashima, Lumumba have created some town hall meetings around reparations and invited community to come out and help us continue to push, but this continue to have conversations. And why is it important that the city of Ithaca buy into the idea of reparations for black people, right? So important, how important that is, what does it mean when we are one of the only groups that have not been repaired for the damage that was done and continues to happen due to being enslaved, due to being kidnapped from our homeland, our motherland. Go ahead.
Briefly, what's in store now for Phoebe in the third person? I know it's still a ways off. Are you looking that far ahead of what you might be doing come next January?
Yes, I'm going to be continuing to do the work that I do with Alliance of Families for Justice. I'm going to also continue to be a pain to people on the council. I'll try to get to as many council meetings as I can. I'm also going to continue to, whoever is our ward representative, continue to let them know I'm available if they need me, but also continue to be in their air of what looks like we should be pushing. And really, I've found out from being on the council that I'm better at being in the community, grassroots, boots on the ground. That's more my forte, right? If I can say, someone who grew up shy, it's surprising that someone who felt, how could I say it, who was very shy, was not confident, who now have a voice, and only because of where I came from to how I got here today. If that makes sense, did I answer?
I think it's a great story.
Yeah,
Story.
So I'm going to continue to be involved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am pleased to introduce the two candidates for the first ward, Alejandro Santana and Jorge DeFendini. And each of you can take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves to whoever is viewing and talk a little bit about your platform. Alejandro, would you care to go first?
Sure. My name is Alejandro Santana, and I'm a longtime City of Ithaca resident. And I've been living here for the past 25 years, and 8 years in the first ward, and the rest of it was in the second ward. And I am originally from the Dominican Republic, and I came here in 2000, and I went to study hotel and restaurant management at TZ3. And as of right now, I am running for common council, and I am a homeowner, and I see the taxes on this H&H going higher than what they used to be when I first got my house. And I'm talking about not just a small increase in the taxes, but an astronomical increase in the taxes that have so many people worried about. And mostly the senior citizens that live on the first ward. Through my work, I meet a lot of people, and most of them complain about the high taxes. And I think we as a city, we need to figure out ways to get the taxes down. We need to get a tax study, a tax group that will be a task force to figure out what is the right equation, what is the right formula to tackle the taxes, so that me as a homeowner and the senior citizens and also the renters will benefit from this tax decrease in the tax prices. And I do construction for a living, and I have a small business from a minority, and I will be the guy that is, allows getting materials on Monday. I will be doing work in different neighborhoods around the city. So I will travel a lot during my day. And in those travels as well, I talk to people around what, is going on with their lives and stuff like that. So some of these people, they sometimes come up to me and say, well, oh, wow, it's great that you are running for the first ward, because we don't see the candidates that we elected for the first ward. They don't come and meet with us. They don't come and see us. We email them and we never get a response back. So I'm bringing something different. I want to see me going to those meetings, me taking your emails, me giving back to you, and me having a conversation and getting to know what is it that you need from the first ward that I can bring to the plate and that I can put forward into the Common Council for the first ward.
Okay. Jorge, would you care to introduce yourself and some of your platform?
Sure thing. My name is Jorge DeFendini. I moved to the city of Ithaca from Queens, New York City in 2018 when I came here for school at Cornell University. I'm here in the first ward now with my partner who I met at school, and we've settled down and decided to make Ithaca our home because it's a beautiful city. I love Ithaca, but it's also very expensive. We have high taxes, we have high rents and mortgages, and the money that we're making at our jobs is not enough to pay the bills. And despite this, we've done a lot of great work on the city council to make the city more affordable and sustainable for the community, but people are still struggling to get by. I've had the benefit in my time here to wear a lot of different hats. I've been a retail worker, a fast food worker, and a nonprofit director. I've also served on the city of Ithaca's Common Council when I represented the College Town Ward 4 district. I was elected the same year as Phoebe Brown, who I'm running to replace on the Common Council, and whose endorsement I'm very grateful to have. Over the years, me and Miss Phoebe have worked on a lot of different policies and done a lot of great work that I'm proud of. We've made the city a safe haven and a sanctuary for people receiving and providing gender-affirming health care. After a lot of years, we finally got a study to look into the question of reparations for Black Ithacans. And we have done a lot in terms of making the city more stable for the renters who, despite this being a 75% city of renters, did not have that reflected in the representation they were getting. A majority homeowner common council legislated that way until we got in there and started pushing the issue of keeping people in their homes and making it affordable to pay their rent. So for me, I'm running here in the first ward because what this election is about is what type of leadership we want at City Hall. What type of action are we going to see from our elected officials? Are we going to resign ourselves to a broken status quo and cut city services and fire public servants like Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing right now at the federal government? Or are we going to stand up and fight back? Are we going to demand more of our elected officials and our government? Ithaca is a beautiful place, and I've seen firsthand what a government can do to make people's lives better, but it's not going to do it on its own. We have to fight to make that a reality. And I've done that on my time on the Common Council, and in this moment right now, what we need is a fighter and an organizer who is going to put the issues of the first ward, whether you're in West Hill, North Side, or the South Side, first. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
Well, you both mention affordability. And every candidate that I can think of for the last 10 years has talked about the affordability and the high cost of living in Ithaca. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how much council can do. So I'd like to get your opinions, maybe not looking past, but looking forward. What can council do to affect the affordability of living in Ithaca? Can we start with you, Alejandro?
So for the affordability, it's a very simple equation. Yes, it sounds trivial, but it is. We just need to focus on how much is it that we are spending as a city, and where are those funds going in order to create affordability for everybody else. In the housing arena, to make the city and the housing arena more affordable to the people of Ithaca, I think tackling the taxes, that would be the number one thing, because just as a business, get an increase on the gas, your taxes are going to go up, and then to whom is it that you're going to pass that burden? You're going to pass it to the consumer. In this case, you're going to pass it to the renters. So that's how we can make affordability if we are talking about home affordability. And the other thing that we can do as a community and as a council is to promote new businesses to establish in Ithaca, that those businesses will suffice the amount of work that it requires for them to be up to bring back some kind of a stability to some of the families in Ithaca. And as a common council, we can push for some legislation, in a higher level, but we have to focus on what is happening here in Ithaca. How is it that we are treating our workforce? How is it that we are bringing them together so that we can respect them in a way that we are saying them, thank you for your work that you are doing. And how can we bring a balance as well to the affordability? Because affordability could go in so many different directions, and there are so many different programs in the city that will, help with the affordability in the people's life. For example, you can create a program in which I will, be on board with. Let's do more with less. And why let's do more with less? Well, guess what? All of the different policies that the current government is taking upon or is taking away from the people, we are going to feel all of those ripple effects, by the time everything comes down here to Ithaca. So we have to face those things here in Ithaca. And in order to accomplish those things, we got to focus here in our matters and our problems. We got to focus here on our housing. We can't be emulating somewhere else, projects. We have to focus on what is it that Ithaca have to offer. Where is it that we want to bring Ithaca, and how can we, as a whole community, be integrated in a way in which there is going to be a balance, between the people that will decide for the future of Ithaca in some respect. And going on that, route, I think we also need to work on our infrastructure that has been neglected for so many years. And don't get me wrong, I understand that there is an issue with the budget and there are deficiencies, but at the same time, there are ways that you can work that equation in a way that will help everybody understand this is how much money is coming in, this is how much money is coming out, and therefore it's going to give us transparency once we are right in the common council. And I think the people in Ithaca, they strive for this. To at this point, it's been almost, we are in month number 4 of the year, and nobody seems to know what happened last year. So, talking about on that scenario, I think we gotta be transparency, and don't get scared by transparency. You know.
I'd like to give Jorge a chance
Sure.
to respond on the affordability, but we'll get back to the issues of transparency as well.
Sure thing.
So what can the city do going forward as far as making things affordable for us that are kind of in the lower income level?
Absolutely, yeah. I have the benefit of being in, I'm a proud union member. I belong to the Painters and Allied Union Trades, and I have a lot of stability at my workplace that a lot of folks do not have in the workplace. A lot of people who are working retail, like I used to work at my previous job, or in the service industry. And I hear this a lot. I heard it a lot when I would speak to folks in the businesses that I was working, customers and whatnot, and it's a common thing that we hear a lot of times. Like, we got to run the government like a business, you know. We got to run things efficiently. We got to do more with less and stuff like that. The problem with that is that the government is not a business. The government is a service provider. And I do disagree with my opponent here that I don't think the problem with our budget and the tax issue is a simple question, because I actually have the experience of being on the council and having to develop that budget and pass it. And I know that the majority of our budget, those expenses, are coming down to personnel. That's staff, people's jobs. And cutting 1, 2, even 3 positions on the city budget, in the city's roster, is not going to provide the tax relief that we're talking about here. We're talking, you cut 7 positions, for instance, the 7 unfilled positions in the Ithaca Police Department, that's going to save people $70 on their tax bill. So that's what 7 positions. And we've seen that what people actually want is affordability, and they want a stability in their life right now. If you want to see what a government that runs like a business, that's talking about trying to cut costs and be more efficient, look at what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing right now at the federal level. And it's all the chaos that that's causing, because the cuts and the savings that we make up by making these reductions in the budget to lower taxes are going to create a bunch of newer taxes that consumers are going to have to pay in the private sector when you have to go all the way out of town for childcare because Southside and GAC programs get cut, are going to have to go to the auto repair shop because the roads are getting even in worse shape because you've shut down the Public Works Department with all the staff cuts that you've made. So I don't actually want our government to do less. I want our government to do more. It's true, we have a lot of high taxes, and for those high taxes, we should be getting quality services. We should have pristine roads without potholes, the TCAT should run frequently, our rents should be stable, and your job should be stable. These are things that the city could actually take action on right now. The problem is a problem of political will. This isn't a can we afford this, or is this possible for us to do? This is, are we going to fight for it? And so as someone who has been on the council before, who has spent time fighting for these issues, even when I left the council, fighting to create more job stability by passing just cause labor protections, I got that conversation started when Starbucks started coming into our town and union busting, and they started in my ward at the time, College Town. And they closed down the stores and fired all of the workers. I said, we got to make sure that no one can do something like that again. A corporation can't come in here and bully our neighbors out of their jobs for having the audacity to form a union. So I met with community members, I met with lawyers, and I met with a lot of policy experts, and we crafted just cause labor protections. And the city had a conversation about it, and they've been having a conversation for a couple of years. And since I've left the Common Council, that conversation has stalled. And that's because we need more organizers and fighters on the Common Council. Folks like Phoebe, whose endorsement I'm proud to have. Folks like Kayla Matos, whose endorsement I'm proud to have. People who are willing to put the community first and who are not going to just go along with what the process is, but are going to mobilize the community. And I think we've seen, and this is the last thing I'll say, is people like the services that we have. They want to see more of them, and they want to see the city do more. Every time a conservative member of Common Council has tried to defund Southside, GIAC, the Youth Bureau, things like are the cost-cutting services that we've been hearing about, the community mobilizes and says, no, we don't want this. So what people want is more affordability and stability, and there are ways to do that. We just need to fight for them.
Well, I'm still getting a sense that homeowners are feeling squeezed, and they certainly may not want a lot of cuts, but they certainly want relief as well. So how do we address this issue for homeowners that have a very significant tax rate? It's not just Ithaca, it's the county and it's the school tax all combined.
Yeah.
So I am concerned that
Absolutely.
if they're not finding some relief, then the consequence is, the type of cutting that Trump and Musk are doing. Yeah. So how do we address those homeowners that have that very real concern?
Right. Well, we have to acknowledge the fact that we have a multi-billion-dollar elephant in the room, and that's Cornell University. And Common Councilors have tried time and time and again to get Cornell to pay their fair share. I was one of them, and as a result of the organizing that we did in our community, we made the MOU with Cornell a lot better than it would have been had we not fought tooth and nail. And that is representative of the type of spirit and vigor that we need to actually bring these costs down and make the city more affordable. It's what Ben Nichols did back in the 80s and 90s when he brought Cornell to the table with tough negotiations. And I think what you said is exactly the case, that we have to get creative with our solutions. So we have Cornell University, who doesn't pay taxes. We also have an out-of-control tax abatement program where we're giving these abatements to luxury developers who are building projects like the Library Place that promise to provide a public good and then fail to deliver on that. I've spoken with a lot of people, including former city councilors, about the prospect of introducing a clawback resolution where if you got a tax abatement and you lied to the public and failed to deliver on what you were providing, which was, in this case, affordable homes for seniors and more public spaces for them, we should claw those taxes back so that we can better subsidize the burden that we're all shouldering. And then beyond that, we have to look to places like the school district and at the state level. You see, I'm an organizer by trade. I'm not just a politician who's going to say that's the that's the school district's problem, that's the state's problem. We all know each other. So I'm going to be with the teachers union, calling on them to get Cornell to pay more to the school district so that our school district taxes are lower. I'm going to be mobilizing with the community to stabilize rents at the state level and expanding rent stabilization to apply to more apartments so that our rents go down and we can shoulder that burden a lot more. There are solutions that don't resolve in taking the route of cut, cut, cut.
Well, Alejandro, do you believe going to Cornell and asking them or demanding more funds for them to offset the tax base, is that a realistic solution?
I think not only going to Cornell, but to some of the many other different actors that are in this pot together. So what I mean by that is you can cut many different things that you want to cut. And at the same time, that is not going to fix the problem. And if you are cutting the essential that kind of keeps the life moving in Ithaca, then you are shooting yourself in the foot with that scenario.
What are some of those essentials, do you think?
Some of those essential, GIAC is essential to the community. You can cut GIAC to the community. You can cut the police to the community. They are essential part. You can cut the fire department to the community. They are essentials. So, and many other different entities that comprise the city of Ithaca, if we are talking about on a whole. And let me be clear. Let me be clear. When I say we can do more with less, what I mean is we can do more with what we have right now. We don't need to go cutting and cutting this service and cutting this other service. No, because so then how are you going to make the city flourish? How are you going to make the city to establish itself and come out of the problems that the city is right involved? For example, the budget, a deficit in the budget. So how can you do all of that? Well, if you bring all of the different actors in our comprised city to one resolution, that they will come to the table and they will be accountable. They will pay for what they need to pay. For example, we don't need to pay for Stewart Park. Stewart Park can be paid by the county. So let's have the county take their fair share, and we can save, whatever money is that we get from the county, we can save it and we can use it at our favor. For example, if you, let's say, last night I heard $23,000 was spent in storage for downtown Ithaca, that at the end we end up not using for what it was, bringing the DPW right in there. So if we cut $23,000 that we didn't use right in there, where do you think that money is going to go? It's going to go into the funds of the city. It's not going to go anywhere else. So therefore, that is going to give us a little bit more cushion and get us closer to what we are trying to do with the taxes, that we are trying to make the taxes a little bit softer for the people. So when I talked about efficient, that's what I'm talking about. You don't need the storage, don't get it. You don't need to spend, $55,000 and such a things, don't get it. You don't need to spend $25,000 in this, don't get it. That's what I mean by efficient. I don't endorse, neither I am agree with what the federal government is doing to all of the cuts that they are doing left and right, just blindfolded, because it affects us all in a way that we will be scrambling around. And here in Ithaca, we have problems. We have to think about this. We have to think about the floods that falls into the infrastructural part of it. What is that going to do once this flood map comes into effect? It's gonna, jeopardize the people that are living into those areas, So they are talking about close to almost 3,000 homes are gonna be affected by this flood. And
Well, what can the city effectively do about that?
what can the city effectively do? They are still working on figuring out how to get to that point and address the flood issues. And if they go deeper into this and they follow what they need to do, and FEMA is in accordance to what the plan is, and they say, hey, look, yeah, this is good. We don't have to do any other thing. The taxes for your mortgage or for your extra insurance that you have to pay, they are going to be lessened with this kind of scenario. But the city is working on it, and I know it's very complicated, and I think they still need to push a little bit more toward this and try to get that done as soon as they can, because this is going to come in effect, just right in the next, couple of months, a month or so. And it's just going to be gradually, but we are going to be affected by that. Everybody that falls into that category is going to be affected, and they are going to be looking at probably $3,000 more, $5,000 more on homeowners insurance because they fall into the category of a flood, area.
Do you feel this is a priority?
Absolutely.
Jorge?
Absolutely.
As the first ward, yeah.
I'm someone who lives over on the south side, and that's a serious concern of mine. I'm someone who, my family was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and so the effects of climate change are very serious, and we're feeling them here in Ithaca. And so when we hear these issues of like the FEMA flood maps, we have to think about how we can bring the community together and get creative with the tools that we have and figure out who we need to connect with at the state and usually I would say the federal government, but this federal government is not going to be a cooperative partner. I mean, I don't think they're going to be, the current Trump FEMA administration is going to be accepting what the city of Ithaca puts forward. And so what do we have to do when this high burden comes on that we can't rectify by making any cuts to the city budget? No amount of cuts are going to be sufficient enough in addressing that burden. So what can we do? I think we can reduce the tax abatements that we're giving out like candy so that we have less of a tax burden with our tax exempt property. I think we can look to what we can do with our existing funds that we still have access to for the Green New Deal. Can we use participatory budgeting as part of the Justice 50 initiative to maybe put together a resiliency fund that homes impacted by these new flood maps and the higher premiums can tap into. And that's a stopgap solution. That's not a long-term thing, but those are the type of creative thinking that we need. And that's not going to be popular because everyone's got their pet project that they're going to say, we need to be funding this instead of that. What is going to get the thing done is if you have a fighter and an organizer. When I'm on the Common Council, the number I'm thinking about is not this much thousand, that many thousand, it's 6. You need 6 votes to get something passed on the Common Council. And can I bring enough of the community together to demand that the Common Council take action, that they implement the things that they said they were going to take action on? Can we persuade our fellow council members to see things our way, get people who have to share these tough stories of having to cut costs or potentially move so that the council feels compelled to take action? That's what an organizer does, and that's what I'm going to do because we can't afford to do any less to get out of a situation like these high taxes and FEMA flood maps.
What is the one issue that we haven't touched on yet that you feel is most significant, either for the First Ward or for the city? Very briefly.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead, Alejandro?
I think for the First Ward, the community of the First Ward, as of right now, the majority of the people that I have talked to, they come to me that they want to see, as they are the constituents, they want to see their people that they have elected more active in their community, meaning you go to a meeting, meet with them, you answer their phone calls, you go and touch bases with that community, and you are more proactive on that community, meaning that they can see you. Because when I went, petitioning for the signatures, there was one lady in Hook Place that she came out of her door and she said, "Oh, I can't believe I can see a candidate, an actor candidate." And she even hugged me, and then I was just like blown away. I'm like, okay, so is this how some of these, other candidates do business? Because I tell you, if I am for the people, I want to be for the people. If you elected me, I want to be for you. If you send me an email, I make sure I will follow with that email. If you see me at Lowe's, I make sure I talk to you and I will listen to you. And this is what I will bring to the Common Council. I will bring a listening ear. I will bring balance. And I will be somebody that will be with you in whatever is it that you need that is on my ability to fulfill that.
Jorge, any issues that we haven't touched on that you think it's pretty burning for the city or for First Ward?
I think the biggest one that we've been dancing around it but haven't spoken to directly is how do we deal with the question of gridlock? How do we deal with inaction by City Hall? Because right now we have a majority progressive Democratic City Council, one that I'm happy to have been a part of and helped create. And we've done a number of great things that people went to the polls and voted for, either in referendums or coming to speak at public comment. Things like reimagining public safety, just cause labor protections, study into reparations, and we haven't seen action on those. And why is that? It's not like there's an issue of oh, we don't have the funds for it. It's not like we haven't written a law for it. In some cases, the laws have already been written and they've already been passed by the City Council. So the two of us can come up here and we could say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and we might even be able to get it passed. But then what happens after that? Who is staying up on these things and making sure that it gets done? Now, the thing that I take in my perspective as a community organizer and as a fighter on the Common Council is I'm not going to just go along to get along with the process. I'm not going to just give excuses to my constituents or say I'm just going to talk. I'll talk to everybody, but not provide any follow-up. I'm going to take action. Like I'm going to be taking over for Ms. Phoebe Brown, who is a fighter in our community and who has made a lot of waves on the Common Council. Those are big shoes to fill. And so I can't just adhere to what the process says, oh, we can't do this until we get this done. If we have to organize people to change the system so that the system starts working for us, that's what I'm going to do.